What is going on, everyone, and welcome in to another episode of Expected Bets for your go-to podcast for all things hockey, gambling. I am Gator Betting, joined by my two co-hosts today. We got Gretzky Betskis and Franco the Banker. We also got a very special guest, someone close to me. My cousin, Carson from Trainwreck Sports, is here today to join us to break down the NHL slate for May 5th and May 6th. Carson, you work at Trainwreck right now. You've written for the Penguins, I believe, a bit as well. But before we get into that, how's it going? Welcome to the show.
I mean, it's an honor and privilege to be here with you three fine gentlemen tonight. Excited to talk some hockey about a lot of big things tonight. Lottery, playoffs, a lot going on.
Yeah, I mean, as Buffalo Sabres fans, we've gone through the ups and mostly downs with this team for the past 11 years, 14 years, whatever number you want to call it. It's a lot of downs. But tonight is our Stanley Cup as Sabres fans. And Franco, you are now joining the pit of misery with us as well in terms of the NHL draft lottery taking place tonight at 7 p.m. Franco, I know you were kind of in full tank mode towards the end of the season here. So how are we feeling going into the draft lottery tonight?
I'm feeling great. You know, this is a huge draft class, top prospects, you know, just the best of the best.
Yeah.
But no, in reality, I mean, it sucks that this is
league
the year
changers.
You get like top four in the draft, and it's like, who is the best? I mean, yeah, I mean, the Flyers need as much talent as they can get, so I'll take whatever we can get. But it's funny because I don't remember ever really looking into it this much and seeing the chances of dropping being more than like the chances to stay in the position you finished in is just like silly to me. And I mean, I get it, but it's just funny. Like I'm like, well, at least they're gonna get fourth at the worst case, and I think they have like a 20 or 15% chance to stay at 4 and like a 40% chance to drop. And it's just like fuck, just our luck. You know, you finally finish in like a top 4 spot, and you're like, okay, I could feel good about these top 4 guys, and like we'll get 6th. I'm sure.
Yeah, that's how it works.
No, and that's Sabres. I'm sure will not end up in that 7th or 8th position that we're currently slated for. There's no way we stand there. Carson, can the Sabres add another small forward? I think we can.
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about this draft is it has everything the Sabres could possibly want in either a small forward or a left-handed defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like a big win-win for Buffalo that they're going to get that, you know, that top spot. It seems like every year there's that prized left-handed defenseman in the draft. They're going to get it. So that 6.5 on the screen is looking a lot more like 100 right now, but we'll see what 7 o'clock brings.
Yeah. Yep. I am very excited for that. So that takes place at 7 tonight. Obviously, game 1 between Florida and Toronto is going to be following that at 8 p.m. All right.
Maybe after maybe if you win the lotto and get Schaefer, you'll trade Dolly into the Panthers.
They don't have enough ex-Sabres, right?
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Someone will take him.
Forwards.
He's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll take Marchand. Yeah,
No,
1 for 1.
No, you're making cap space for Ekblad in the offseason.
True. Yeah. We'll throw in Tage too. Why not?
Or the
Tage as well.
LD. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. All right. So we are down to our final 8 teams here. This is where we stand in terms of Stanley Cup odds. Panthers are the odds-on favorite right now. Betsky, let's start with you here. Any of these odds intriguing? It seems kind of wide open on both sides. Florida definitely seems like they are the favorite, but they definitely seem like a legitimate contender. In terms of the West, every team's got their faults here. So any sort of leans or plays on a Stanley Cup future?
Not only does every team have its faults in the West, though, but I feel like 3 of those 4 teams, gosh, maybe 4, potentially could win it all too. I mean, I know that sounds like no shit, but Dallas has a little bit of magic right now. That momentum from beating out Colorado the way they did is something special. Plus, they are getting guys back. I think that was a really big test for Ottinger. And granted, I don't know how many people are thinking he looked completely elite there, but that was one of the best offenses you had to face. So that has to be a big relief. Edmonton, I don't think you can ever count out the best player in the world, and then you have this maybe another top 5 player in the league on the team. So despite the goaltending, I think overcoming LA the way they did is a little frightening. And then Vegas just does Vegas things. I think I feel the least confident in Winnipeg being able to win it all. The funny thing is, all 3 of those teams, I could see beating an Eastern team. It's even Florida, who looks really, really good. But by the time they make it to the finals for that 3rd time in a row, are they breaking down at that point? I don't know. I don't trust the Hurricanes at all.
Nope.
Maybe there's
Don't
some
trust the
magic
Caps.
in Toronto. Maybe there's smoky magic.
I think the winner comes out of that Florida-Toronto series. I think those are the 2 odds you're looking at in the East.
I do too. So yeah. I guess the whole West is kind of a grab bag. I mean, if Hellebuyck gets his act together, then that changes everything. But and then really to me, the only 2 teams in the East that I think could win the Cup are Florida and Toronto.
Yeah, I would agree. Franco, do you kind of echo that as well, or do you have another team, maybe a dark horse picked out for a future now?
No, I think I agree. I was heavy on Florida coming into the playoffs. Still feel very good about their chances. I think we'll talk about this series shortly, but that team is just so tough. I think so. Yeah. I don't really care for either team in that Washington series, like you said, as far as like making like a true run. I think the West is just going to beat the shit out of each other. Like all these teams are just going to brutalize each other. I think these series are going to be awesome this next round, and I think even going into the following round. So I think that the East, whoever wins, like you said, that Toronto Florida game series, kind of, I won't say they have it easy, but it just feels like their path is so much easier than what any team in the West is going to have to deal with to get there.
That's how it's been in the East for multiple seasons now. I mean, it felt like Florida getting through round 1 against Tampa, and then 2 years ago getting through Toronto in round 2 were the hard teams. And then it was like they coasted in round 3 against whoever they got from the leftovers of the Metro.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Carson, as a former goalie here, are you believing that Hellebuyck has exercised his demons with this Game 7 double OT victory and looking at the Jets, or are you saying there's no way in hell that he's a contender coming up?
They say like a leopard never changes their pattern or whatever, and Hellebuyck will never change being playoff Hellebuyck, in my opinion. There's just something about, he can exercise those demons in this game, but he still has to play, get through 3 more series to lift a Stanley Cup. I don't know if you can string together that many more wins in a row. I mean, looking at this table, I've somehow done a complete 180 from today of I'm kind of on board with the Hurricanes for no reason. I think it's because I don't trust them, and every year I do trust them, and they break my heart. But, they're going to play the Capitals, who's going to be an ugly series of 2-2 overtime games.
Yeah,
they're going to get through there. They're going to play the Panthers or Toronto after beating each other up for 6-7 games. Maybe they can get through there. I mean, Anderson had a .936 save percentage before he went hurt. If he comes back healthy, he might be able to carry that team to the playoffs. I'm always a big believer on goaltending. I look at the goaltending left in this playoff format. If Anderson can stay hot, there's something there. Bob is Bob. We've seen that in years prior. And the West goaltending, I don't love. Only one goalie had above a 900 save percentage in round 1. That was Ottinger with like a 911 save percentage. I think it's just what team can show up in round 2 with goaltending wise, and what guy can really take that next step. Stolarz has looked good. Can he make that next jump playing someone that's not the Ottawa Senators?
Yeah, I would completely agree with that statement there. Carolina is interesting, and I mean, the big issue with Anderson too is, can he stay healthy? Yeah. He's had issues in the past. This year we've seen it too, early in the first series. So that is a big if. But I mean, it's not a bad price if you think Carolina's going to win this series. You're looking ahead here. Maybe it kind of gives you a little bit of a hedge option for that Eastern Conference Finals, then maybe the Stanley Cup Finals too. So not a terrible price on the Hurricanes at that plus 475 mark. To a different market here. Looking at the Conn Smythe, there's no Toronto Maple Leafs as the current 10 favorites here. Marner, I think, is the best odds in terms of the Toronto Maple Leafs at 25-1, which is insane here. Given the series price, too, isn't that far off for Toronto and Florida. But, Betsky, any looks in the Conn Smythe market here? Again, it's trying to pick that team that you think is going to get to the finals. We talked about the West of being an absolute gauntlet. So you're kind of crossing out really any names in the West of taking a future on. Florida, the favorite, there's 5 guys that you could pick from between Reinhart, Barkov, Bennett, Kachuk, Bobrovsky. The list goes on and on. So any thoughts on the Conn Smythe market, or are you kind of staying off for now?
I actually think Rantanen's a really interesting one at those type of odds right now. Because if anything, if they cruise through Winnipeg and he gets a couple goals again, that's going to plummet price-wise. So out of the West, that would be the one I would grab. And I would be willing to do that now. I like him more than Ottinger. I like him. I mean, obviously, if Edmonton makes it to the finals, it's going to be McDavid, or wins. But for the odds you're getting there, I kind of like Mikko. I kind of like what Dave has been bringing up in the chat. I kind of want to sprinkle one of the Maple Leafs. I don't know which.
That's the hardest part, though, right?
I know. I know. What if Matthews just crushes the Panthers?
Could happen.
I have a future series bet on Matthews that we'll get to later. But
okay.
Nylander currently leads the Maple Leafs with points with 9. He's 40-1 to win the Conn Smythe. Marner, 25-1, is 8 points right behind him. Stolarz, too. He has a big series against his former team. Maybe he comes out as the odds-on favorite, Like, there is plenty of options with the Leafs. Same with the Panthers. These other teams kind of have their top guys, Eichel, Aho, Kyle Connor. So
wait, McDavid won it last year, right?
Yes.
And losing, yeah.
And he didn't come out to take it.
No.
Okay, I like Barkov too then.
Oh.
18-1, and if they win again, I mean, to right the ship a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Barkov, Bennett, Kachuk are all at 5 points. Reinhart leads them with 6. So again, they're all in that same kind of range in terms of probability. And yeah, Barkov's not a bad option. Bennett, I think Bennett's 150-1.
No, yeah. Well,
That's
tough.
a good price.
Yeah.
It'd be tough though. As much as I love Bennett,
Barkov would need to go down.
Yeah.
What was Marshall at when he won it for Vegas? What was around this
God,
time?
like to open the playoffs is probably insane price.
Yeah.
I grabbed him 7-1
know.
before that series started, I remember, to win the Conn Smythe. So that was one of my favorite bets. But Carson, any looks in the Conn Smythe trophy market?
Yeah, I mean it's tough with this list here. It is just a hodgepodge of teams. You're like, we don't have that clear-cut favorite. I mean, since 2013, only one goalie has won the Conn Smythe, Vasi in 2021. So I mean, you see some goalies on here. If a goalie's going to win it, they're going to have to carry the team and make some big-time saves. Besides Bob on this list, like I don't know who else you're really going to see. I mean, Anderson for Carolina is at 3,000. If you think they're going to be able to sneak through to that finals on his back, 3,000 is a good number for me. But outside of that, I mean, your Rantanens, your Leons, your McDavids, like even McDavid, you think they're going to go to the finals again. Edmonton's plus 600 to win the cup. You can get at McDavid at plus 850 to win this Conn Smythe. It's not, it might be a little bit better value than just straight lifting the cup for him.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like this market's really going to heat up next round.
Yes.
I think that's kind of the biggest thing is once you have your final 4 teams, then you can really start to put some solid futures out there. The odds won't be as great, but at least you kind of know what you're looking at in terms of teams here. Franco, any looks for you in the Conn Smythe market?
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably just hold off, but I do like the shout by Betsky on Rantanen because I think what do you have 8 points in the last 2 games of that series alone? I mean that alone is something to think about, considering if he can do something like that again in this next series. That line was just putting up points like crazy those last 2 games. So yeah, if he continues his productivity and has another really good series, he's going to put himself way ahead at this point, especially considering a lot of these guys that are in the lead for points or goals. Like McKinnon has the most goals, he's out. Cam Fowler had 10 points, he's out. Kempe and Kopitar had 9 and 10 points, they're out. So a lot of the leaders right now in points are gone. So if Rantanen can kind of like build on that lead, if he puts up another, say, 8 or 9 points this round or something, like, he's going to have a nice lead on a lot of these guys. Obviously, guys like McDavid and Draisaitl can close on that real quick, but yeah, I'll wait, keep an eye on it, and see how we're going.
Yeah, I like it. All right, getting into our round 2 series best bet. Let's start with the game. Game 1 happening tonight between Florida and Toronto. The series price Florida -170, Toronto +145 here. Franco, I'm going to throw it right back to you. Any bets, kind of future bets for this series? We could talk about it a little bit. I had some notes here. So on this season, Florida was 3-1 in terms of the head-to-head record. Sam Bennett had 3 goals, 5 points in the 3 games he played against Toronto this season. And a fun fact here, Toronto has never beaten Brad Marchand in the playoffs. They're 0-4 against him. During that span, he has 10 goals, 29 points, and 4 game-winning goals. So, Franco, the floor is yours. What are some of your best bets for Florida-Toronto?
I think right now, I think Florida takes this in 6. So I don't mind grabbing Florida -1.5 at +110. I feel like that's a decent price. With the thought that Florida takes the series, like, I don't think it goes to 7. I think like a popular thing is going to be to grab like a 6 and 7. I don't think that's going to be the case here. So I might grab 6 and 5 with the thought that, like, they could just come out and dominate. I think they take 1 in Toronto, with the Leafs having home ice to start the series. I think they leave Florida up 3-1 now. And then at that point, it's just whether you think they can close it out in Toronto or if it goes to game 6. But yeah, I just don't see it going 7. So I think probably my best bet would be that -1.5. I did see Bennett to have 2 goals in the series, -120 on DraftKings. I don't mind that. I haven't shopped it yet to see if there's a better number there. I feel like that's a good look. Like we said already, kind of we like Bennett to be effective in this series. So yeah, I mean, you could also maybe take, instead of Florida -1.5, you can do Florida exact result 4-2. That's +350. Maybe that's a little bit of a better price. I think that's where I want to be. I'm planning on taking Florida in both this game tonight and game 2 with the thought that they're going to take one of these. So if I win tonight, I'm just going to move on and probably pass on game 2. But yeah, I think Florida. I just think Florida's too much, man. Like, I think they kind of proved it in that Tampa Bay series. I think a lot of people had Vasi as that X factor in that series. And just the depth of Tampa, and obviously, they had a lot of injuries, and I don't want to completely write off Toronto because of that. Like, I think Tampa was really banged up in that series, and that hurt them a lot. But you compare the difference between Vasi and Stolarz, I don't know that I necessarily buy Stolarz yet at this point to steal a series like Vasi can, and they made Vasi look silly that whole series. So
yeah.
It's this team's scary. I really think this team is scary, and I think they can impose their will if they really want to, and I think they will.
Yeah, I mean, we had questions about Florida heading into the postseason too, which was interesting because they were kind of on a slide, and then all of a sudden, first round picks up. Oh, it's time to play in the playoffs. Here comes Florida. Should have known. I had Tampa Bay in that series, and I looked like a fool, like an absolute fool, kind of going back through that episode, but. Carson, any best bets for the series between Florida and Toronto?
Yeah, I like Florida in this series overall, but there's a couple guys on Toronto I like for goals in the series. Marner, -130 for, at least on DraftKings, for 2 goals in the series. In the past, in the 4 games they played, Marner has 2 goals in those 4 games. Tavares, though, is the guy I'm really looking at. So those 2 teams played twice this past month in April. Tavares had a goal in each of those games. He's minus 165 for 2 goals in the series. He's for 3 goals plus, he's plus 180. Out of the 4 games, he had 3 goals against Bobrovsky. So I like those 2 guys. They've had Florida's number in terms of scoring in the regular season. Obviously, the playoffs are a different beast, but we've seen even just recent history in this past month, those guys are kind of showing up against the Panthers. I like those guys, but overall in the series, I think it's Florida's to lose.
Yeah, Betsky, do you agree? Are you on Florida in this one as well?
Yeah, it's hard not to be.
Yeah.
Would I be completely floored if Toronto somehow gets out of this? No, but I'm not going to put money on it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I have 2 series futures in this series. The first one is going to be Austin Matthews to have 2+ shots on goal in every game this series. Looking at his history against Ottawa in the first round, the lowest he had was 2, which was in game 3. Every other game he went over that total. And then looking at his history against Florida, I want to say in the past 15 games, he's never had below 2 shots on goal. So you're getting Austin Matthews at 2+ shots on goal in every game at minus 125. A wild card here, we talked about him earlier here, is Sam Bennett to have 2+ shots on goal in every game this series at plus 425. Looking at Bennett's recent history, he struggled in the first game against Tampa Bay, but since then, the lowest he's had is 3 shots on goal. Against Toronto, he's never had, I think, below 2, unless we're looking back at 2023. So those are my 2 futures in this one. Austin Matthews to have 2+ shots on goal in every game at minus 125, and then Sam Bennett to have 2+ shots on goal in every game at plus 425. That Bennett look and that price just seems too good to be true. So those are the 2 I have here. Franco, I agree with you. Again, if we're looking at kind of a side, Florida minus 1.5 games for that series at plus 110 just seems too good to be true as well. So I like that. Any other bets in this one?
Bennett for 2+ goals in this series is minus 120.
Yep, I'm on that one.
Yeah.
Too good of a price.
It's not bad.
It's minus 135 on FanDuel too. I was looking it up while you're talking.
All right, next series. We're going to stay in the East here. We got Carolina at Washington. Washington plus 140 for their series price. Carolina minus 160. This is kind of a crapshoot. You're looking at this here. I lean Carolina, but minus 160 to lay on that side seems a little bit steep. I think if anything, I would go towards that 6 and 7 games. But that's kind of my preliminary thoughts. We'll go to you, Carson, first. What are your best bets for Carolina, Washington? I think you're muted.
Mute Monster got me, but I like Carolina overall in this one, but minus 160 isn't really doing it for me to really get in that animal. Carolina, and both these teams, a lot of shots on net, not a ton of quality. Carolina had like a 10% shooting percentage round 1. They get a lot of pucks on net. So, I mean, I like the over for goalie saves in each game. Just kind of sprinkle there, see what you can get. I think both these games are going to be just pucks on net. Not a ton of great scoring chances, but there's stuff there. I think both these goalies can put up a couple saves here and there. So I like that for each of these games.
Yeah, I like that a lot here. I could definitely see that. Betsky, what are you looking at in Carolina, Washington?
Yeah, this is probably my favorite of the dogs for the price here. I mean, plus 140. I'd much rather bet on that than Toronto at plus 145. I think Ovi Magic, I think could be a real thing. And if something happens to Anderson, God knows what happens, period. One thing Carolina's been able to do really well is stay out of the box. This is a team that's very disciplined, plays very good system, no matter what. What happens when Tom Wilson starts running at guys and really gets them going, though? And do I necessarily trust Anderson against Ovi over and over and over again if they aren't able to stay out of the box, which, again, statistically, they're very good at it. But this just feels a little different. This is a much different team than Jersey. This is a team that could potentially bully them a little bit and get them to do dumb things. So plus the home ice, I don't know. I kind of like Washington. I don't know if I want to go full win the series, but I definitely think this is in that 6 to 7 game territory. And what is their puck line? The +1.5.
+1.5 is -135 or -135. Excuse me.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
Yeah. I think that same thing we kind of did in the first series here of lean on that 6 and 7 games at +200, where you kind of make a unit. If it goes 6 or 7 games, I think that's kind of the play here. But Franco, what are you looking at in this one?
That's exactly where I'm going. 6 games is +200 on MGM. 7 games is +210 on MGM. Those are the best prices right now. DraftKings, for whatever reason, not putting lines out yet for the exact game. So I'll wait just to make sure there's not something better. But I think the price is too steep on Carolina. I do lean Carolina. But just given the fact that Washington has home ice to start the series alone should make this a -120 on Carolina, maybe -130, not a -160. So I was kind of surprised, especially with the question marks with Anderson. I unless he's fully 100% good to go going in this game, I just don't see that. I think there's question marks both ways, though. I mean, Logan Thompson missed a game towards the end of that series. So I don't really have much of an interest in a side when it really comes down to it. I think either team could take this series when all said and done, especially with the questions in goal. And yeah, I think 6 and 7 is the way to go. I think that's the best value. On FanDuel, Tom Wilson 2 goals in the series is +100. I think that's a fantastic price. And then on DraftKings, Protus 2 goals is +185. He's healthy finally. I'm expecting him to move back up the lineup. Right now, he's listed as on the 4th line on daily faceoff, but I'm not trusting that. So that might be kind of where I want to look, is try to get some value on some guys that are not the big names.
Another guy I had circled in this series, Connor McMichael, 1+ shot on goal in every game this series is -105. Second on the team in the first round of the series with 15 shots on goal. All he's got to do is get 1 on net every game. And I don't think that's a bad price, especially at -105. So that's going to be my other future in this one, in addition to the 6 and 7 games we got going on there. All right, next series, Edmonton, Vegas, another just absolute crapshoot here, if we're really being honest. Yeah, Betsky, we'll start with you. What are you looking at in this one?
I like Edmonton here.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, they got through they got through what will be the hardest hurdle until the conference final. I mean, Vegas did not look great against Minnesota at times, and I think Edmonton is just a much tougher opponent and just a step up from Minnesota.
I like it.
I know the goaltending's not the best, but I mean their home record's insane, or it has been. I don't remember if it was that. No, yeah, they were good this year too.
Yeah.
It seemed like Picard is just good enough, kind of like how Kemper was for the Colorado Avalanche win in 2022. He at least is confident and steady, and that seems to be all that Edmonton's ever really needed. And as long as they stay healthy, I mean, I just can't not take the best player in the world to get out of the second round.
Yeah, Ekholm is going to be out for that entire second round series. We'll see if he returns in the Western Conference Finals if they make it there. Carson, what are you looking at for in Edmonton, Vegas?
Yeah, I also love Edmonton in this. I mean, obviously the biggest question marks in them are goaltending, which we've talked about. But I mean, those same question marks are there in spades for Vegas. I don't like Vegas's goaltending. I think Edmonton has the better players in the series. I think it's their series to lose. Like, they got through those first 2 games in LA and have been rolling ever since. Picard has been a nice refresher in net. There's some props here that I do like for the series. Just for one game to get to 10 plus goals was like plus 150 I saw, which with these two teams just takes one game. I don't hate that. And then for a couple players just to have a point every game, McDavid plus 200, Draisaitl plus 250. Those are possibilities there. And I think, I mean, Edmonton's not going to win the series without them, so they can seem to show up every game. So plus 200, plus 250 are options there. But yeah, I just think goals on goals on goals a series, and a nice refresher from the Carolina-Washington series, I think, is going to be the complete polar opposite.
Yeah, those are great prices on McDavid and Draisaitl to have 1+ point in every game this series. Really like those. Dave brings up a good point here before we get to Franco. With Dorofeyev out, who else is scoring besides Eichel for Vegas? So Dorofeyev's a game time decision for game 1. Looking at the prop market there, Jack Eichel over 16.5 shots on goal for the entire series. If Dorofeyev is out for a while, Jack Eichel is going to kind of have to transition from that playmaking role to that shooting role. We kind of saw it in the first round of the series here. I think he had 19 shots on goal. If I'm remembering correctly, yeah, he had 19 shots on goal. He had one more than Dorofeyev. So Eichel over 16.5 shots on goal for this series is minus 115. Don't hate that look at all. Franco, what do you got in this one?
Man, I'm surprised to see so much Edmonton love amongst the crew here. I thought I was going to be maybe on an island here, but I like Edmonton as well. I think really that Vegas Wild series was really funky in a lot of ways. That I thought the Wild, a bounce here or there changes everything in that series.
Yeah.
Obviously you can make that argument for the Kings series, but I just think that was one of those things where Edmonton kind of took a couple games to kind of get into their own. And once they got into it, it was all over for the Kings. But yeah, I don't know. I don't buy Vegas. I don't like the way they've looked overall in the playoffs so far. Like Mark Stone looks really slow. So it's really just Eichel on that top line. Dorofeyev was looking really good. Obviously him being out kind of hurts. Hurdle has shown some flashes this year as well. I mean, they still have a rock solid blue line. You can't really, make any negative there, but Adin Hill -2 goals saved above expected. So, he's towards the bottom as far as guys in the playoffs so far. And that's against a Wild team that I think has some good scoring. It's nowhere close to what this Edmonton team can bring. And another big thing too was that Minnesota's penalty kill was horrible. Like all season, I think they were ranked like 32nd. They were the worst. And it seemed like every time Vegas got a power play, bam, goal instantly. So that was a momentum killer for them every single time. I don't think it's going to be that easy against Edmonton. And obviously if Vegas goes in the box, Edmonton's power play is going to be huge for them. So yeah, lean Edmonton here. I saw one prop that was correct score after 3 games on FanDuel. Edmonton 2-1. That was plus 135. I might sprinkle that. I think this is a series where Edmonton takes 1 in Vegas and is able to take game 3. So I could see a 2-1 lead for Edmonton, and that's a little bit more value than the minus 115 for them on the series.
Yeah, I like that. Another prop that I was looking at too, McDavid led the Oilers in shots on goal in that first round with 23. McDavid 2+ shots on goal in every game this series is plus 250. Not a bad price. Hasn't dipped below that number this postseason.
He just has those nights.
It's scary. Yeah, he has those nights where he disappears.
But it's
at
2
shot. And Eichel's was able to really shut them down 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That top line specifically. It kind of became the Hyman show. Kind of going to one of Dave's comments. Wild Bill, William Karlsson, 2+ goals for plus 140 in the series. I'm not even terribly concerned if Dorofeyev isn't out the whole time, because I think you can get going against Edmonton with some depth, and that's one of the things that Vegas may have going for them here.
Yeah. All right, last series, Dallas at Winnipeg. This is just a series where both teams don't want to play with their top defenseman or their top forward, it seems like here. Scheifele, Morrissey out for Winnipeg. Robinson, Heiskanen out for Dallas. Carson, let's start with you in this one. Any futures for Dallas Winnipeg?
Yeah, I mean, I like Dallas overall in the series, but something's really just that magic in Winnipeg is pulling me toward them at plus 135, where there's probably some better options you can get just in terms of the overall series when you're kind of riding that magic from that game 7 against the Blues. But I mean, the thing that's always stuck in the back of my head is playoff Hellebuck. So I mean, if they can conquer those demons, like those are, I think that's a tough place to play in Winnipeg. They have the home ice. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at there. And then in terms of just other things in that series, I do like the saves for Hellebuck. I think there's a couple games he's going to be ugly, but overall there's going to be some games where he's going to get a lot of shots, going to get a lot of saves over the course of, six games. I think there's going to be some positives there.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Looking at the shots on goal, Dallas over 26 per game. So I do like that saves look there. Betsky, what are you looking at in this series?
Man, I don't know. I don't know which way to go with this. Is this going to be Dallas in 5? Is this going to be game 7 again with a Winnipeg upset? This is probably the series that I feel the least confident on in predicting. Because I agree that last night could have been them turning the corner, but then at the same time, Dallas did something similar. So both of these teams are riding with magic game 7 wins.
Yeah, it's just who gets their top forward and top defensive back first.
Yeah, I think. Do we know how long Morrissey's out?
I
haven't seen anything yet.
I thought Scheifele is like potentially back
close.
In one, maybe not.
He was skating. Scheifele was skating before the last game, so I would assume he's back.
And then obviously that changes everything. So, I mean, if they're without them for the whole series, part of the series, then I definitely lean Dallas here. But again, I don't know if I'm willing to say it's going to happen quickly, if it's going to take the all 7 games or what here.
Same thing with that Carolina-Washington series. That minus 160 price on Dallas just seems a little bit too steep. I'm just not extremely confident in that number.
I agree.
Yeah. Franco, what do you got in Dallas, Winnipeg?
I like Dallas in the series. I think if Morrissey misses, Dave said talks of separated shoulder for Morrissey, that would be massive. I mean, the problem with Winnipeg in general, I think, at least in my mind, is like they don't have that much offensive firepower, right? And if you take away a guy like Morrissey who's going to create from the back end, it's such a big loss. I know they won that game without him and without Scheifele, but I think that was a game they kind of played on fumes. And honestly, like those were some ridiculous bounces. I mean, those are the types of goals that none of those goals were from like pure. Well, I mean, I'll give Perfet some credit for, that hand-eye coordination. That's pretty damn fucking skillful. But I'm just saying, like, they weren't like guys. It wasn't like what we saw from Rantanen, right, on the other end, right, where he was just like, I'm taking this and I'm scoring no matter what in this situation. Everything felt like it was from the outside, and they just got bounces, and it was unfortunate for the Blues, obviously, just the way it happened. But none of those goals were particularly like great goals. It was just wild bounces that went their way. So I just worry about their ability to score in another series against another good goaltender with, Hellebuck putting up a minus 10.1 goals saved above expected, and the Blues were missing Holloway, who was one of their best scorers, one of their X factors really all season. Now, obviously, we'll see if Robertson comes back. It looks like Haskin is most likely going to play this first game. At least what I was reading earlier today, he seemed like pretty close towards the end of that series. So I think that's massive as well. I just think Dallas has so much depth offensively that like Winnipeg's going to be able to shut down a line, maybe two, right? Like what they did in every home game against St. Louis. I mean, St. Louis was shut down for large chunks of those games. They were just unable to get anything towards the middle, stifled for shot volume and everything. But I just think the depth of Dallas is awesome, and if they get Robertson back as well, it's just going to be really scary. So, I don't like the value on Dallas to take the series. So what I'm going to do is I think what I'm going to do is just take Dallas 4-2 exact score. That's plus 370. I just think that's better than taking a -1.5. I don't think they're going to win 4-1. So, and maybe I'll do like a 6 and 7 sprinkle. But I think in general, if you're going to take any of these teams that are starting on the road, I think you take them in 6. I don't think you take them in 7 because it's just so much more difficult to win a game 7 on the road. So, like, I really like Florida to win in 6. I really like the Stars to win in 6. And probably, honestly, Edmonton to win in 6 as well. So, those will probably be ways to kind of like find a little bit more value in these series, especially when you're looking at Dallas -160.
Yeah, I'm just going to stick with these 6 and 7 games here. Either way, I could see it. If Hellebuck somehow exercises those demons, I could see Winnipeg maybe winning at 7. But to your point as well, I do think Dallas kind of takes this in 6. So that's where I'm leaning with these plays. All right, game 1.
Dallas plus Florida money lines is plus 160.
That's not bad.
That's not bad. The other thing too with Dallas is like that felt like their hardest matchup that they're going to face the entire playoffs. I know it's kind of like a cop out a little bit because all these other teams moved on, but like Colorado felt like such a force at points in that series. I mean, McKinnon had 7 freaking goals. You know, it's ridiculous that they're still able to beat that team, and now it just feels like it's got to be easier than that going forward for them.
All right, game 1, Florida, Toronto. Tonight, Florida -125, Toronto plus 105. Total set at 5.5 here, -120 to the under. Betsky, kick us off. What do you got for game 1?
Man, I almost want to see Toronto win this so their fans can just start queuing up the parade and whatnot, and then watch the whole thing fall. But I won't paint that picture. I'll be good. The guy that I'm probably going to be leaning on as like a parlay piece throughout this series is going to be Marchand shots. I know he kind of fell off in the Tampa series, but that head-to-head against Toronto is insane, hitting 18 of his last 23 games against them. And then if you look at the playoff series against them last year, he hit in 4 of the 5 games, averaging 5.3 shot attempts. And he had a point in a lot of those games too. The first 4 games he had 8 points. So the old Canadian boy may be able to kind of have at him, if you will. And that's one of those pieces that at -150 for the shots, plus 126 for the point. That's one of those things I feel like I'm going to be turning to, especially early into the series before we kind of see how players are adjusting to each other's lines.
Yeah, I like that. That's a great point, Dave. Forsling scored the first goal in both games this year in Toronto. Ekblad out, plus 220 for a point tonight. I don't hate that at all. Carson, what do you got for game 1 in Florida, Toronto?
Yeah, this game really put my brain in a pretzel. I was loving Bob early, switched to Riley shots, but the Marchand points, 1+ point at plus 135 for tonight, that's just a line that I'm looking at. That how is this real? How is this true?
Yeah.
Based on everything we talked about, but I mean the stat that was brought up earlier that the Maple Leafs have never beat Brad Marchand in a series is doing irreplaceable damage to my brain in terms of how I'm looking at this series between Florida and Toronto right now, where that's your X factor. He had 4 points in the last series, 3 in the last 2 games. That's a guy who I think is going to be that piece for Florida. I think that's what we're going to see tonight. So plus 1 points, plus 135.
He knows this. It's not like he has no idea he's this good against them. You know,
it's automatic. It's got to be.
As a Sabres fan, your brain's broken because you're like, all right, we hate the Leafs, we hate Marchand. Like, just what is going on right now in this series?
Why do you hate Marchand?
The Bruins in general.
Bruins.
I could be more vague and just say the Bruins.
That was my answer.
Why? It's not like you guys compete with them.
We did.
When in the 70s?
Many years ago.
All right, Franco, what do you got in game one?
I had to.
All right, so I got a few. I'm like I said, I'm going to
All
take
right.
Florida money line with the thought that if they lose this game, I'm taking it again in game two. I think no matter what, they take one in Toronto. So just give me that minus 125. I feel like that's a nice number. Maybe this is the game Toronto wins. It's fine. I'm not going to lose too much sleep over it if I end up losing that bet. I do like that Marchand point as well. That series history or that history against them is just fantastic. I feel like you have to at least put something on it. And then I'm looking at Bennett. His 3 shots on goal is minus 135 on MGM, minus 150 on DK. So shop around, obviously. I think that's a fantastic price on a guy that just he just shows up in the playoffs, like we've said 1,000 times. Hitting 4 straight. Really picked up his volume over those last 4. I think he's averaging almost like 7 shot attempts per game over his last 4 games in that Tampa series. And he hit in 4 out of 5 back in 2022-23 season in this playoff series between these two. That series went 4-1 in favor of Florida, obviously. So I like that value there at minus 135. I don't mind Bennett's point as well. I don't want to be too heavily involved in points in this game. Like I think this could be like a lower scoring game, like a 3-2. So I don't want to be getting too many point props out. Just I want to see how the series kind of works as far as goals and how much they happen. But yeah, those are the guys I'm looking at. I think Marner's worth a shout as well. He's getting the new dad bump, so maybe take his 2 shots in a parlay with a point or something like that. That should probably be bettable. But I think if there's ever a game, Marner's going to come out and not be soft, as a lot of people will like to say about him. I think this is one of those games, especially game 1 at home. So I think I could see him coming out pretty strong today.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up that the new dad bump there too. I had it circled, but I forgot to bring that up. So thank you for that. To your point too, Bennett seems like the guy that minus 135 for 3+ shots looks absolutely terrific tonight. So I'm definitely on that. His point, I'm not sure if I'm going to hop on that as well. Marchand at that 1 mark looks great as well too. So I'll probably jump on that Marchand point and Bennett at that 3+ mark. Not a ton of value here when we're looking at the markets here, even for shots, kind of juiced for all the guys that you're normally going to target on that Florida side. Points a little bit more bettable, but the shots on goal market has really just kind of been brutal, at least in this one too. Oh, it's also Marner's birthday.
Wait, did he have the kid on his birthday, or
no? He had the kid yesterday.
So he had the kid the day before his birthday.
Does that cancel out then?
Man, it sucks for him. He's never going to be able to celebrate his birthday again. Damn, man.
That's what happens when you have a kid anyway, dude.
Yeah. Carson, you brought up a good point too. Does the birthday and the dad cancel out, or does it add to each other? You got to run the numbers.
Has that science been done before? Do we know?
It's a
double. I don't know. These are the things that we need to be talking to athletes about.
This is what people tune into the show for. This is the expert analysis. Yeah. All 700 people right now.
2 shots and a points minus 115 for Marner.
Yep. Just put it in. That's a damn good price.
Yeah. And don't forget his head-to-head, he's hit his 2.5 against Florida in 11 of the last 19.
Yeah.
Which means his 3 shots with 2 points is
3 shots is worth a sprinkle straight too. I think just given
I agree.
Narrative plus 155.
I agree. Or you do the 2 points and the 3 shots for plus 460.
Not bad.
Get the first win. Toronto starts celebrating. Marner 3-point night. They win 4-1. Everything feels right in the world in Toronto, and then they lose the next 4 straight.
Well, gentlemen.
Sounds about right.
We just lost half our Toronto audience right there. They're gone.
Toronto.
Well,
any other looks for this one tonight?
Verhaeghe's a Toronto boy. I just kind of need to see it all play out a little bit on the Florida side here. Marchand, again, is like the one I feel the most confident about, just with the history. And Verhaeghe's actually, for shots, never been great against Toronto.
No, he's gone
I think
underneath his
Nine's
last
point, you're
4.
getting some value at minus 130. But I would almost rather take options like put his point with Marner point and just get boosted a little bit because, like Franco mentioned, I don't know how many goals we're going to see tonight. So, I kind of want to see how Tavares, Nylander perform versus the top line for Toronto. It just kind of want to feel this one out. Game one, there's a lot less I feel just like overtly that I'm comfortable just jumping into blindly.
Yeah. Pacioretty hitting 10 of his last 11 at that 2+ shots on goal mark.
And he just scored, right?
Yep. Another little sneaky
Oh, he's
play
on
there.
the second line too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he got bumped up in that last game, I believe. And that line looked pretty good, too.
Yeah.
The issue, though, he's minus 170 on DK for that 2+ mark, and FanDuel's not offering him. So that might be the only reason to stay away. But maybe not a bad parlay piece.
Speaking of
How crazy you want to get? You're talking Marner, baby bump,
Birthday
bump,
Pacioretty,
why not?
celebrating that he's alive.
Yeah. Pacioretty
Just
going home to
any
score
day
kids.
that he's still in the
Yeah.
NHL, he's like, yeah, I'm getting hammered tonight after the game. I'm just happy to be here.
Stolar's revenge as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Going on.
Yeah.
OEL revenge.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so many endless storylines for this game.
Also, I had to take a quick look at the BS market. Jake McCabe still looking like a fantastic option. He got bumped to 2.5 at plus 120 now. Simone Benoit has hit his 1.5 in every single game of the playoffs so far.
There you go.
Tanev is untrustworthy. I will not ride him until I see him be able to string a little bit more consistency together, but both of those look pretty decent. Seth Jones interests me a little bit too with Ekblad out. He hit the 3 of the first 4 games. Did Ekblad come back game 3 or 4? Regardless, then he put up duds in the last 2 games of the series, which I know Ekblad was in for sure. So,
Anton Lundell at that 2+ mark also doesn't look terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at him as well. Looked good.
I mean, would you trust his point with Marchand's point too?
I really like that third line for Florida, especially given that
Listerine and
Toronto's going to try to shut down the top lines the best they can. So I would imagine the third line would get some favorable matchups in general for Florida.
Perfect. All right. Do you guys want to dive into tomorrow's game or skip it and just do our parlay of the night?
Gotta catch us in the morning.
Nice.
Sure.
I like that.
Or the early afternoon when it comes out.
Yep. All right. Parlay of the nighttime then.
Can we keep the streak alive?
Can we keep the streak going is the question. We've hit 2 in a row right now. Before we get into that, though, new customers at DraftKings can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets using promo code THPN. That's to replace all of our parlays, so be sure to check them out. All right, around the horn, we got 4 people. Be sure to use the same game parlay boost from DraftKings tonight. So let's see if we can make it 3 in a row here. Franco, Betsky, Carson, who wants to start us off tonight?
Give me Lundell too.
There it is.
Give me Marchand too.
Give me
I was
Marchand
going to take that Marchand too.
2 and a point.
Okay.
Well, I can wean off if we want to diversify this a bit.
All right, what else you got then besides Marchand? Marchand? I know I was texting you before. You said you got
Yeah,
three
I have
that you
two
were
others
looking at.
here.
All right, let's talk through those.
Yeah, I had Bob over 22.5 saves, which I got scared of. And then Riley under 1.5 shots. He's only been above one in his last 4 games.
And he's very good against Ottawa for
Florida blocks a
slapping
lot more
reason.
shots a game than Ottawa does. Both those scared me a lot. I liked Marchand more than those two originally, but
Yeah, I like Marchand best of those plays, I would say, personally.
the point.
Yeah.
I mean,
All
that
right.
would
2 in a row.
We'd
A lot
have
of pressure
Lundell,
there.
Marchand shots, and his point. It'd be like saying that line is going to go.
Yeah.
Which I don't mind
Yeah.
because you're like getting extra value on just saying, "Hey, I want to see that line do well."
Now
And we
Gator
just-
has to pick a Toronto prop, though. That's the problem.
Well,
So
there's
we're
one.
Do I?
putting them in a corner.
Is that it? Yeah. Toronto to win the game. Yeah, add Toronto money line and
McCabe
just watch
block
the world
shots.
burn there. Yeah. I'm probably gonna go Bennett 3. I think Bennett gets that 3+. My
Okay.
DK account right now is just slow, but
Plus
all right,
650
let's see what we can do.
pre-boost.
Same game par.
Plus 8
Pre-boost.
6.5 with boost.
Nice.
All right, so we
I
got
like it.
Lundell at 2, Marchand at 2, Sam Bennett at 3.
Oops, all Panthers.
I know, that's what I was saying. I feel like we should have Marner in there, but
I did too. Yeah, whatever.
I'm afraid they cancel out those 2 bumps. It's a scary game.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair. That's fair.
All right, I'll put this together. So we got Bennett 3, Marchand at 2, Marchand point.
Yep.
And then Lundell at 2. All right, perfect. Any other picks, bets for tonight?
No, you guys gotta get ready for the draft lotto so you can have your heart
That's
broken
true.
again,
Yeah,
right?
I'm gonna start
Small
pre-gaming.
forward.
Honestly,
Yeah, get those fireball shots in, Franco. Send them some.
Oh God, not again.
I know you got some extras.
yeah. All right. I think that's going to wrap up today's episode of Expected Bets for Carson. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Be sure to check him out on the Trainwreck Sports Network. Covers the Sabres. I'm sure we'll have some great content coming out tonight for the draft. So thank you once more.
Wait, it's called Trainwreck
Trainwreck Sports. Yeah,
And it solely covers Buffalo?
yeah, they go hand in hand.
Okay. I was going to make a joke
That's
about it earlier,
perfect.
thinking it covered
Yeah.
more than just Buffalo, but you guys made the joke.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
writes itself.
Yep.
Nice.
Perfect. All right. Well, we appreciate everyone for listening. I think we're close to 750 live viewers right now. So once more, before we sign off, our parlay is Anton Lundell, 2+ shots on goal. Brad Marchand, 2+ shots on goal. Sam Bennett, 3+ shots on goal. And Brad Marchand, 1+ point. Pre-boost, as Besky mentioned, that is plus 650. I will tweet out the graphic in a bit with the updated odds. All right. We appreciate everyone for listening, and we will talk to you guys on Wednesday. See ya.